So, good afternoon. My topic is sensory system technology and their effectiveness over our human bodies. So the first question is the problem. The problem I see is that eyewitness accounts and perceptions through our body are very different from what sensory technology can enhance. For example, according to the Scientific American, 73% of 239 overturned cases, out of these overturned cases, 1/3 of these cases are because of eyewitness accounts that were mishandled, or basically not given properly. So the problem I saw was the unreliability in perception. Now, as you can see in this image, it shows how a sketch artist did not effectively use the descriptions. Now, another example is optical illusions. For one such example is the peripheral drift illusion. This is because the brain and the eyes have difficulty processing luminance against dark. Now, this tricks your eyes into believing that there's movement. Can you really trust your eyes after it can be so easily tricked? So, to come up with a solution for this problem, I decided to go towards the sensory system technology. Now, the first question towards this technology is, how effective is it? Can it be accurate in recording information? One such example of this is thermal camera technology. This even goes up to the military in its purpose. For example, these are Navy SEAL night vision goggles. These were used specifically in the operation of the capture of Osama bin Laden. Now, according to Richard Moss, a researcher in thermal cameras, he was using them for writing this book and recording his movie. Now, he saw that this military-grade equipment could detect human body heat from 20 miles away. Now, both you and I and organisms around us have the ability of thermoception. Thermoception is the ability to detect heat, not numerically, but to be able to feel hot, how cold or the warmth of an object. The effectiveness is that it can numerically track these things and from farther away. Now, this is my stimulus material collection. Now, in the extrasensory perception, we saw that in the Doppler software, which was used to track the sensors placed in the MIT lab, it was used to further connect the network between the people that worked there and the sensors that were implanted. One such example of a real-life connection is the Lucid Heat Analysis map. This was used to track energy consumption, power consumption, and resource consumption. As we can see, the red areas are where there's more heat, which means more traffic, and the green areas is areas where it requires less work or not as much enhancement. Now, another such connection is in the olfactory perception article, which only showed how human perception is very under-researched. As of now, we can't fully detect what the brain can do, although we do know that it can detect senses and take in smells. We know it has so many capabilities, but we still can't input it. So, consistency. Although we may have an accurately recording and effectively recording technology, can it consistently perform and not fail? One such example of this is the SASMEX organization, which is basically an earthquake locating organization located in Mexico that has been gathering information for over 40 years. The effectiveness is imperative to keep it alive. The 40 years of this research's information is used to predict future earthquakes and areas where it could affect. Now, as you can see in this picture, we have multiple sensors located around Mexico, with the orange being the ones that are currently there, the white being the ones that will be implanted, and the red being those that are currently the databases. If we look at this next slide, we see just how imperative it is. This is an actual use of the program that shows how it's used. We can see the radiuses and the diameters of the circle showing the effective areas called the strike zones. If the information in the technology was not effective and consistent, we'd have many lives at stake, along with a lot of property damage if not properly notified. So, length. How long can this information be kept in sensory systems? You and I can only hold information for so long. Our information, if kept to ourselves, will go along with us as we pass. But sensory system databases are the solution to this problem. They can store information for longer and store this accurately and effectively gathered information. For example, in the USGS, United States Geographical Survey, it's been keeping track on floods since 1949. These floods are used, the information from these floods floods are used to predict future floods in areas that could be affected by these floods. In this next picture, we can see how they're used. This is a gauge house. As seen, it is currently being set up to communicate information between the gauge house and the actual database. So what does this actually solve? To summarize this, what it solves is the unreliability in our human perception. We can only perceive so much. For example, in thermoception, we can't numerically perceive things. Not only is the accuracy and effectivity increased, but the length in which this information can be stored is increased. The limitations to my solution. One downfall of my solution is a human operator. It is required for a human operator currently to keep track of the human databases and the technology being used. Although this can soon be solved by the development of artificial intelligence and into our network incorporation. Another issue of this is human intervention. So under the same category as human operator, the information that was dealt with can be tampered with. This information needs to be kept in safe hands, which is one downfall. These are my sources.
Okay. So, question. How did your research evolve as you moved through the research process? Did you go a different direction than you originally planned?
So my research did take a turn. Originally, it was only based on heat detection, but I realized this is too weak of an argument. I need to focus on something more life-threatening or essential to our life today, so I turned to a more modern incident, such as floods and earthquakes, natural disasters.
Okay. So, if you have more time, what additional research would you conduct on this topic?
If I had more time, I feel like I would go over my potential downfalls, because this is the biggest problem. Although the technology is there, the human intervention is the biggest problem. What we need is artificial intelligence, but this is currently only under development. And there's another problem of how our human perceptions, we still don't fully understand ourselves. So until we can fully understand ourselves, we won't know officially that this technology is more beneficial.
Okay.